Before crowns adorned temples and empires carved their names into stone, before scrolls and swords declared law, there were goddesses. Their power was not in conquest, but in creation. They ruled no armies, yet all life answered to them. They were mothers of balance, weavers of harmony, and breath-givers to the world itself. In a time before kings claimed dominion over earth and spirit, it was the divine feminine who held the sacred codes of existence. She did not reign through force. She moved with rhythm, in wind, in water, in the womb of time. Across the golden deserts of Kemet, the still waters of the Niger, and the rain-kissed mountains of Zululand, the goddesses walked, not as myth, but as memory. They governed not only the land, but the invisible threads that held spirit to body and soul to truth. Each of them carried a lesson, a warning, a blessing. Some were born before time, others rose from love, from loss, from vengeance, from the silence between heartbeats. They were creation, justice, mystery, and rebirth, all living within the feminine divine. They held no thrones, yet they judged kings. They spoke no mortal language, yet every culture heard them. Their symbols were not swords or crowns, but feathers, rivers, rainbows, and sacred silence. They taught not domination, but balance, that power without compassion leads only to collapse. And though many of their names have been buried beneath time and empire, their presence still lingers. In the warmth of the sun, in the rhythm of the drum, in the quiet truth that rises from the earth when all lies have fallen. These are the 9 African goddesses everyone should know. The 9 whose stories were once sung at firelight, etched into ritual, carried in the voices of grandmothers. Their power was not forgotten, only hidden. And now it returns. Their stories still breathe, their voices still echo, in water, in earth, and in silence. In the beginning of order, before men measured time or wrote their laws, there was Ma'at, the breath of balance, the keeper of truth, and the pulse that held the universe in place. She was not a goddess of desire or fear, nor a being who ruled through offerings or prayers. Ma'at was law itself, not the law of rulers, but of creation. The sun rose and fell by her measure. The Nile swelled and receded according to her rhythm. Even the gods were bound by her principle, for without Ma'at, the cosmos would dissolve into chaos. Ma'at did not demand worship. She required harmony. Her essence was balance, her justice woven into every living thing. When a person spoke truth, when a ruler governed with fairness, when a worker labored with honesty, they were living within her rhythm. To live by Ma'at was to live without weight, to walk lightly through existence, not because one was free from judgment, but because one had nothing to hide. To walk in truth was to move without burden. That was her creed. That was her law. When life ended, the soul entered her sacred hall, where eternity was decided not by status or wealth, but by truth. The heart of the deceased was placed upon her golden scale, and on the other side lay her single white feather, pure, weightless, perfect. If the heart was light, Unburdened by deceit or cruelty, it rose. The soul was welcomed into the field of reeds, a paradise of peace and endless sunrise. But if the heart was heavy, swollen with greed, lies, or injustice, it tipped the scale. The devourer Auset waited below, half lion, half crocodile, half hippopotamus, ready to swallow the unworthy into oblivion. No pleading could sway the judgment, no prayer could deceive the feather. Her presence extended far beyond the afterlife. Pharaohs ruled under her eye, taking oaths to uphold Ma'at with every decree, for to stray from her truth was to invite ruin upon the land. Judges, scribes, and commoners all lived by her code, reciting daily the 42 declarations of innocence, affirmations of purity that reminded them of their duty to remain in balance with the world. I have not lied, I have not stolen, I have not slain the innocent, I have not closed my heart to truth. Each word spoken was both shield and mirror, a promise to keep one's heart light. Ma'at was not distant. She was the invisible thread connecting morality to the movement of stars. To live without Ma'at was to live against the current of creation. Her justice was not punishment, but consequence. Her truth did not demand belief, it demanded recognition. To deny Ma'at was to deny gravity itself. She spared no one, not even kings, for all hearts were weighed in the end. In her feather lay the measure of the universe, delicate, unwavering, eternal. Before death became a final silence, there was Auset, whom the Greeks would later call Isis, the mother of magic, the breath of sacred love, and the one who taught the world that what is broken can be made whole again. In the mythology of Kemet and Nubia, her story is not just divine, it is human, a story of loss, devotion, and the power of love not as sentiment but as resurrection. Auset did not rule with thunder or command armies. Her magic was quieter, deeper. It moved through the realm of the unseen, through the heart, the womb, and the spell of spoken truth. When her beloved Osiris was murdered by his brother Set, and his body scattered across the land, it was Auset who journeyed through storm, through desert, through night, gathering each lost piece. She did not weep idly. Her mourning was action. Her grief became spell work. Every tear she shed carried power. Every word she chanted bent the veil between life and death. And when all parts of Osiris were found, she used her breath, her divine life force, to call him back. From this act, the world learned what it had never known, that love, when sacred, can overcome even death. Her symbol, the throne, rested upon her head, for she was not just a queen beside a king. She was the very seat of power itself. Through her, kings inherited divine right. Through her, healing became ritual. She carried the Ankh, the key of life, not to rule, but to restore. Her magic was not illusion or spectacle. It was alchemy, a transformation of sorrow into spirit, of death into destiny. She held knowledge passed from the stars, wisdom taught in silence, and power rooted in compassion. In the temples of Kemet, mourning rites were dedicated to her. Women gathered not only to weep, but to chant, to invoke her sacred presence. For every loss, every broken heart, every soul unsure of its place in the afterlife, Auset offered guidance. She became the mother of the dismembered and the protector of those left behind. Her magic was not to control fate, it was to reshape it, to remind the world that nothing once loved purely is ever truly lost. Auset's power endures in every act of healing born from pain, in every ritual that turns grief into strength. She stitched death back into life with love, and from her spell, resurrection became possible, not just for gods, but for all who believe that wholeness is never beyond reach. She is not gone. She is present in every whispered prayer, every act of devotion, and every moment when brokenness becomes beauty. Auset did not only teach magic, she became it. Before time had rhythm, before even light had direction, there was Nana Buluku. She is the primordial breath, not a goddess who rules over creation, but the source from which creation itself was born. In the spiritual traditions of the Fan and Dahomey peoples, she stands not at the beginning of a myth, but at the beginning of beginnings. She is the silence before the first word, the stillness before movement, the breath before existence took shape. Nana Buluku is beyond gender, beyond title, beyond form. She is not mother in the human sense, but in the cosmic one, the womb that held all duality within her until it was time to divide. From her came Mawu and Lisa, twin children who became the sun and the moon, day and night, breath and bone, logic and feeling. Through them came the balance of opposites, the great dance of unity and contrast. But even they bowed to her, for she was their source, the original pulse that set the cosmos into motion. She does not command temples, and her name is not often shouted in ritual. Her worship is not loud, it is reverent, quiet, ancestral. Those who call to Nana Buluku do so in whispers, in dreams, in meditations that reach beyond sound. Her power is not in spectacle, but in presence. She is in the space between drumbeats, the pause before thunder, the endless circle that has no edge. Her symbol is the circle of creation, unbroken, containing all and excluding nothing. Her rituals are not dramatic, they are reflective, a moment of stillness to honor the ancestors, to return to the root. When the world spins too fast, when confusion overwhelms, the wise return to Nana Buluku, not for answers, but for silence, for grounding, for the original breath that makes all other breaths possible. She rarely speaks, but when she does, universes are born. It is said that her voice formed the original vibrations, the frequencies that became form, matter, and movement. Her silence is not emptiness, it is potential. It holds the memory of all things that were and the shape of all things that will be. She is not a goddess of action. She is the condition for action to exist. To know Nana Buluku is to recognize that life has no true beginning or end, only transformation. She is not a character in a story. She is the story before it had words. And in her stillness there is power. For even now, when we breathe in silence, when we return to the beginning within ourselves, it is her breath we borrow. In the heart of Igbo cosmology, justice is not an idea carved in stone. It is the soil beneath your feet. It is living, breathing, watching. And her name is Allah. Also known as Ani, she is the goddess of morality, fertility, and the land itself. But she is more than a deity to be worshipped. She is the very body of the earth. To the Igbo, every seed planted, every oath spoken, every footstep taken touches her. And to lie upon her body, to break sacred law, is not only a spiritual crime, it is a wound carved into the land itself. Allah governs the unspoken laws, not the laws written by kings or elders, but the deeper codes, the laws of balance, respect, and ancestral harmony. She watches over life from its beginning to its end. When a child is born, they are welcomed into her world. When a body is buried, it returns to her womb. But even in death, the dead cannot rest without her permission. A burial denied by Allah is not simply forbidden. It is a sign that something remains unresolved, unclean, or unjust. To violate her order is to curse not only oneself, but the community. Her justice is not thunderous, but it is absolute. When a taboo is broken, when blood is spilled unjustly, when a sacred oath is violated, Allah does not need to speak. She answers with silence, with famine, with sickness, with dreams that will not settle. Crops fail, wombs close, rain refuses to fall. Because when the earth is hurt, she reflects that pain in all who live upon her. Her punishment is not about wrath. It is about restoring equilibrium. To bruise the body of the earth is to disturb the balance of all things. Allah holds memory in the soil. The footsteps of the ancestors still echo beneath the surface, and the land remembers every truth denied, every offering rejected, every ritual performed with dishonor. The trees grow from her. The rivers flow through her. She does not forget. When human courts fall silent, when injustice goes unpunished, Allah responds, not through words, but through the rhythms of life itself, shifting out of sync. Her symbol is not carved in stone. It is the earth, open, sacred, enduring. Her rituals are woven into daily life, the blessing of the land before planting, the cleansing of a home built upon violated ground, the ancestral libations poured in silence beneath the trees. She is not summoned with noise. She is honored through care, through conscience, through living in right relationship with the land, with the ancestors, and with the truth. To live under Allah is to live with accountability, not only to society, but to the earth itself. Her justice cannot be escaped because it cannot be ignored. It surrounds, it nourishes, it remembers. And in the quiet tension of her soil lies the heartbeat of justice, steady, ancient, and sacred. For in Allah's world, truth is not just spoken, it is planted, and it will grow, whether in peace or in reckoning. She moves like water, smooth, shining, and sacred. Oshun, the Yoruba goddess of the river, is love in its most divine form, fierce, fertile, and deeply alive. She is not a distant deity of unreachable skies, but a presence that dances through streams and laughter, that settles in the curve of a smile and the pulse of joy. But do not mistake her softness for weakness. Oshun is sweetness and wrath in a single stream. Her waters can heal wounds no hand can touch, and they can rise without warning to sweep away deceit. In the great myths of the Orishas, when the world had grown cold, dry, and broken under the rule of stubborn male gods, it was Oshun who restored its rhythm. The gods had forgotten the power of compassion, the necessity of love, the importance of beauty in the cycle of survival. In their pursuit of structure and strength, they neglected grace, and so the world suffered. But Oshun, with honey on her lips and power in her hips, reminded creation that it could not thrive on fire and iron alone. She seduced balance back into being, not with seduction for its own sake, but with sacred femininity that commanded attention and reverence. Her symbol is the mirror, not for vanity, but for reflection. To see Oshun is to see oneself clearly, to understand what you are made of and what you still lack. The river shell, smooth and iridescent, also bears her mark, delicate but enduring, born from the movement of water and time. She teaches that to be beautiful is not to be ornamental, but to be aligned, to flow, to give, to nourish. She is the mother of creativity, the guardian of love, and the mistress of joy. Worshippers offer her honey at the river's edge, singing songs of praise, dipping fingers in sweetness to show devotion. But they do so carefully, for Oshun does not accept false praise. Her justice is gentle until it isn't. Those who deceive her, who approach her with hollow offerings, are met not with scorn, but with silence. Her river turns away, her blessings dry up, and for those who offend her deeply, the water that once healed becomes a current that pulls. She flows where fire cannot reach, through grief, through fear, through the hardest places in the heart. She teaches that love is not weakness, it is remedy, and that beauty, when rooted in truth, is a form of resistance. Oshun's power is not in dominance, but in allure, in the way the world bends toward her, not from force, but from longing. She does not demand, she inspires. She reminds us that no justice is complete without joy, no healing complete without sweetness, and no future possible without the grace of the divine feminine. To walk with Oshun is to walk with the river, to flow, to reflect, to give, and, when necessary, to flood. She is the embodiment of softness that protects, beauty that demands truth, and love that refuses to be forgotten. In every ripple of water, in every burst of laughter, in every honey-sweet kiss that turns pain into pleasure, she is there, flowing, fierce, and eternal. Before the rivers knew their names, before the lakes found their edges, there was Yemoja, the ocean mother. She is the first tide, the womb of all waters, the breath from which life itself was exhaled. In the Yoruba spiritual tradition, Yemoja is not merely a goddess of the sea. She is the sea, the vast, endless body that cradles the earth, nourishes its roots, and listens to the secrets whispered beneath the moon. She is where all beginnings come from, not in fire, but in fluidity, not in destruction, but in deep maternal grace. Yemoja is the mother of all Orishas, the divine matriarch who carries every soul before it takes form. Her essence is not loud or demanding. It is patient, enveloping, and immense. She holds the spirit in her arms long before it is born into flesh, and when it weeps, she cradles it with tides. Her justice does not strike like thunder. It rolls in slowly, wave after wave, until balance is restored. She does not rage, she pulls. Her love is deep, and so is her sorrow. She protects children, not just those in cribs, but those within all of us, the wounded, the uncertain, the ones who cry in silence. She governs dreams and emotional tides. When grief becomes too large to name, when loss floods the soul, it is Yemoja's voice that speaks, not in words, but in rhythm. The lull of the ocean, the pull of memory, the promise that healing is possible even when wholeness feels out of reach. She is not just water. She is what water remembers. Her symbol is the crescent moon reflected on waves, a vision of softness, rhythm, and eternal return. Her rites are held at the sea's edge, often beneath moonlight. Devotees leave offerings of perfume, white cloth, or silver trinkets, sending them out into her arms with prayers for protection, fertility, and emotional peace. These are not transactions, they are conversations with the Mother of Mothers. In return, she grants dreams, visions, or the stillness that allows the heart to mend. But Yemoja is not only gentle, she is the sea. And when her children are harmed, when sacred bonds are broken, she rises. Her justice does not roar, but it arrives, slowly, surely, overwhelmingly. She cleanses what is tainted, not with fire, but with pressure, with wave after wave until the lie is washed clean, the grief processed, the truth brought to shore. To walk with Yemoja is to walk with the sea, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, but always full of meaning. She is the space between silence and song, the water that holds memory, the womb that never closes. In her, all waters begin, and in her, every soul, no matter how lost, can find its way home. She is beauty and danger, a whisper beneath the surface, a secret shimmering just beyond reach. Mami Wata, the mysterious goddess found across many African coasts and rivers, is not to be categorized or easily understood. She is the spirit of transformation, the embodiment of seduction and power, healer and challenger, giver and taker. Her presence does not follow rules, it bends them. She arrives not with warning, but with allure, and those who meet her are never left unchanged. Mami Wata is the goddess of wealth, healing, and spiritual depth, but her gifts are not free. She gives, but she tests. She blesses, but she demands honesty. She is neither good nor evil. She is reflection, pure, merciless, and beautiful. Those who fall under her gaze are shown not what they want to see, but what lies beneath the mask. She does not ask for perfection. She asks for truth. To encounter her is to stand before one's own shadow and light, to confront hidden desires, unspoken dreams, and buried fears. She is the secret in the surface. Her symbols are as rich and layered as her mythology. The comb for grooming and transformation, the mirror for reflection and truth, the snake for power, rebirth, and seduction. Together, they speak of her nature, winding, shifting, never quite still. Her rituals are performed through dance, through water offerings, and often in dreams. She is known to appear at night, in visions, in moments of deep emotional reckoning. Sometimes she calls her devotees through illness, only to heal them in return, but only if they answer her one question: do you truly know yourself? She offers riches, money, influence, beauty, but only to those who can handle them with integrity. Her blessings, like her love, are conditional. If you are unprepared, her gifts will consume you. But if you are true, if you approach her with respect and honesty, she will elevate you. She will open spiritual doors that no one else can. Mami Wata does not play by earthly rules. She writes her own and expects you to do the same. To follow Mami Wata is to live without illusions. She does not comfort with lies. She transforms with truth. And in doing so, she reminds us that what we fear, what we desire, what we avoid, it is all the same thing. Power. Her power. Your power. The power to become who you really are. In her waters, all masks melt, all riches are tested, and all who swim must choose, drown in denial or rise in truth. She does not announce her presence. She does not send warnings in the wind. Ayelala, the silent judge of the Ilaje and Edo traditions, is justice that walks barefoot through silence, felt, not heard. She is the goddess of vengeance, of hidden truth, of sacred oaths spoken under trembling breath. Her power is not in spectacle, but in certainty. She does not knock. She enters. And when she does, no lie survives. Ayelala is invoked not during peace, but when peace has been broken. When human courts are corrupt, when witnesses are silent, when the guilty walk free and the truth has been buried beneath power, fear, or shame. That is when she rises, not in flames, not with thunder, but in silence that suffocates. A lingering sickness, a dream that repeats itself night after night, a confession that spills from trembling lips without warning. Her justice does not arrive with noise, it arrives with pressure, invisible but impossible to ignore. She is guardian of oaths, and to swear in her name is to gamble with one's life. Rituals invoking her involve sacred pots of water, believed to reflect not just the face, but the soul. Those who lie before her do not always fall immediately. Sometimes they walk for days, months, even years. But they walk with a shadow, a tension, and eventually the lie unravels, in illness, in madness, in sudden collapse. Her justice is not swift, but it is sure. It does not sleep, it waits. Her power is both feared and revered. Communities turn to Ayelala when trust is broken beyond repair, when a curse hangs over a family, or when no one else will listen. She is not called for vengeance in rage. She is called to restore truth, and she never fails. Her symbol, the sacred pot, sits still, like her, until stirred by deceit. When truth is betrayed, it does not evaporate, it simmers, and Ayelala ensures it will boil again. Yet she is not cruel. She does not hunt for guilt where there is none. She is invoked carefully, solemnly, with offerings and with reverence. Because once summoned, her presence cannot be dismissed. She will see her task through, and when she is done, the truth will stand, not because it was shouted, but because it could no longer be silenced. To live in truth is to walk untouched by Ayelala, but to betray it is to invite a justice no man can delay. She reminds us that even buried lies are still alive, and that silence is not safety when a spirit remembers. She is the justice that does not blink, the trial no court can close, and once she enters, there is no turning away. She descends after the storm, not with wrath, but with joy. Mbaba Mwana Waresa, the rainbow queen of the Zulu tradition, is the goddess of rain, agriculture, fertility, and love. She is the sky's laughter after grief, the brilliant arc that reminds the earth it has not been forgotten. Her presence is a promise that after every drought there will be harvest, after every sorrow there will be song. She is the divine that comes not to rule from above, but to live, love, and dance among her people. Mbaba governs the sacred balance between sky and soil. When the land grows dry and the crops begin to fail, it is she who is invoked to release the rains. But her rain is not just water. It is blessing, restoration, renewal. She pours not only upon the earth, but into the soul. Her essence brings fertility to both fields and wombs. And when she moves through the sky with her signature rainbow trailing behind her, it is not just beauty, it is covenant, a sacred sign that life will begin again. She is known for choosing love over distance. Unlike many deities who remain removed from the world, Mbaba married a mortal, not as an act of charity, but as a declaration. She walked the fields, tended the soil, lived under the same sun as her beloved. In that choice, she taught that divinity is not separation, but connection. That gods need not dominate to be powerful. They can dwell in the rhythm of ordinary life and elevate it to something sacred. Her love story is not legend for the sake of romance. It is a reminder that heaven is not so far when it chooses to draw near. Her symbols, the rainbow and the clay beer pot, speak to her dual nature. One is celestial, ephemeral, a bridge between sky and earth. The other is earthy, tangible, a vessel of nourishment and ritual. In Zulu tradition, she is honored through fertility dances, songs that rise like incense, and rituals performed beneath open skies. These ceremonies are not only for rain, but for joy, for the courage to begin again, for gratitude, for union, for beauty after barrenness. Mbaba Mwana Waresa does not promise an absence of storms. She does not prevent pain, but she assures us that storms will pass, and when they do, something vibrant will remain. Her rainbow is not just a display of color. It is the signature of hope drawn across the canvas of despair. She is not only the bringer of rain, she is the return of light. To honor Mbaba is to plant even in doubt, to love even after loss, to dance even when the clouds gather. She teaches that life is worth returning to again and again, that joy is sacred, that laughter is healing, and that every storm has an end, painted in color, shaped in promise. She is the divine who comes down to dance, and in doing so, lifts the world. These were never just stories carved into temple walls or whispered at dusk. They were truths, not myths, but mirrors. The 9 goddesses you've just met were never born to entertain. They existed, and still exist, to awaken. They ruled not through fear or conquest, but through rhythm, through memory, through breath. Their power was not loud, but it was everywhere. In the rising of the sun, the flow of the river, the stillness of night, and the fire that never needed to roar to be felt. Each goddess held something sacred. Ma'at weighed hearts and whispered balance. Auset reassembled brokenness with love. Nana Buluku cradled the very silence before the world began. Allah grounded truth in soil and seed. Oshun danced sweetness into justice. Yemoja cradled spirits before they had names. Mami Wata reflected our desires back to us, demanding honesty. Ayelala hunted buried lies without speaking. And Mbaba Mwana Waresa painted joy back into the sky after every storm. They governed not with thrones or weapons, but with presence, with conscience, with continuity. They walked with the people. They cried when we cried. They taught that to be divine was not to be feared, but to be remembered, to be felt in the everyday, in the water we drink, the dreams we follow, the justice we demand, the love we dare to offer. The divine feminine never died. She was never erased. She simply stepped back as the world forgot. But now, something stirs, something ancient, something needed. She waits, in rivers that still run, in winds that still whisper, in seeds that still grow after fire. She waits for her name to be remembered. If this story stirred something in you, if it called to the ancestral memory beneath your skin, do not let it fade. Speak their names, share their truths, let the world remember what it once knew. Comment below with the goddess you felt most connected to. Share this with someone who needs to remember, and subscribe, because these stories are not finished. They are just beginning again.